This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 59. You must manage and execute simple plans. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, hey, I was you, and now I'm here telling you you're in the right place because I can help. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to build a better real estate agent business the right way, I've created a free jumpstart course for you over at freeagentgift.com. Get over there because this is the beginnings of helping you program your brain to be a manager of a well-planned out business. But in this episode, I want to be very specific. You must manage and execute simple plans. And I'll get into that here with the first one. Number one, how about you stop and get a plan? Now, that's not easy to go find one. I understand it. That's why I give the framework for what I believe is a framework for any sort of a plan in real estate. A beginner, a team, a mega agent, a company. There are some basics here that are universal, immutable principles, not just about our business, but also all small businesses. And so to have a good, solid foundation that provokes thought as a manager who's going to execute a plan is critical. I wish somebody lumped me over the head with something like this when I was first starting so that I didn't have to go out and kind of sift and sort in the dark. I had a great mentor. He was very planned out. That's why he was the top of the world for a international franchise several times because he kept working on the plan, and that's key. So I live and learn that way. So the point that we have to make about finding a plan is get started with one. But today I want to take you a little bit deeper into the next point, which is the 1-2 punch. And I have to give you context first. Thank goodness for Michael Gerber's work, The E-Myth, and my mentor, Craig Proctor, who introduced me to it, because what they gave me was a framework for thinking about who you must become to run a successful, independent small business. And the framework is, and I say this with a little bit of tongue in cheek, is that you must be tripolar. Meaning that there are 3 personality types to the successful small business owner, and they all don't come perfectly melded from birth. Number 1 is this entrepreneur, and I hear a lot out there that some people are entrepreneurs, others aren't. Let's just suffice to say that I think anybody in real estate that comes in as an independent contractor, which is the vast majority of us, we're looking for an independence. And an independence through business. We don't want to work for somebody else. We want to a certain extent, run our own business. Now, that doesn't mean that a nice, cozy relationship with a good brokerage isn't extremely important, but those are really 2 businesses working together. So you see, like I like to say all the time, nobody's coming for you, so you better come out with a plan. Sure, there's teaching and training, and God bless the industry because it tries to give education, but it really is difficult to chunk up in a simplistic way a plan for agents. Very difficult because there's a lot of moving parts. So I do my best in this podcast to try to break it down for you. So going back to Gerber, that entrepreneur, you get it. That's why I even say it in the intro. Are you an agent with an entrepreneurial spirit? That's all of us, right? I'm speaking to my avatar, meaning my ideal listener, because I am one. So when you come in there and now you look at it and you say, all right, Danny, enough. I've got the entrepreneur I started. I hung the shingle. It's a part-time business for me. I'd love to make it full-time, or it's a full-time and I'm not making enough money to the bottom line. I hear this conversation every day, right? Every week at least. And so what I say is, look, the problem as Gerber describes it is you got excited, you got independent, you got opportunity, but you ran right down and tried to execute a technical plan, meaning you went and ran an open house and you had a conversation. You didn't even know what to really say. You didn't really have an offer prepared. You didn't even really know what's going to make you unique against all the other 1 million+ people that are doing the same thing that you are. So again, that's from the lack of planning. So as Gerber says, we run right from entrepreneur right down to doing the technical work, and we never take a beat to say, I wonder how this real estate agent business as a technical business actually works. So what that means is that it's almost like this sandwich, this Gerber sandwich, where you have entrepreneur at the top, you have technician at the bottom, and you can think of this like a Henry Ford-like assembly line because it really helps. So Henry has a vision for developing these automobiles better and more efficiently than anybody else, but he didn't just go down and start hammering away at the assembly line and running from one piece to the next piece. I'm not saying that there wasn't some of that learning, but he actually went as a manager with his team to all these other already successful businesses that were managing their processes. Go do some homework on him. You'll find that he went to the Chicago slaughterhouses and watched, I know this is a little bit gruesome, but it's reality. They watched how they dealt with the production of meat. And it was fascinating to him that they had this system where each person had specialized knowledge on this process and that they never moved from the spot that they were in. So he learned, wow, that's a process, and that's a managed process. So now coming back to this business, I took that vision and said, voila, there's the problem. You see, for 6 years now, I've really only been able to spend time with a very small group of dedicated people, the top producers, who are really trying to dig in to say, wow, the digital age changed everything. The recession changed. Some of my Canadian clients are, they're wondering about what's coming from the States as a trend and how that's affecting them. So there's a lot of discombobulation or interference with the way that the assembly line worked for years. So there's been a lot of reconstruction, but there hasn't been from some of the very basics of management. Let me tell you about these two. Marketing and conversion is the foundational 1-2 punch, and a lot has not changed about managing them. So my mentor had a mentor by the name of Dan Kennedy, who wrote a great book that is called The Ultimate Marketing Plan. And in there, there's sort of this KISS model, keep it simple, stupid, right at the front. There's a triangle. On one side, it says market. The other side, it says message. And at the bottom, it says media. And I was like, well, voila, there's the simple managed marketing process, which is the first piece that needs to be managed on the assembly line. So why don't we just do this? And here's the very specific advice. Why don't you sit still for 5 minutes as a new agent, as a veteran, whoever you are, and say, where would I really prefer to do business? I know you're going to say to me, anywhere where I can make some cash flow happen. I get that as the technician and the business owner, cash flow is king. I get it. However, as a manager, there is plenty of time in your 168 to sit still, look in MLS and say, does this look like an area? Like, I like this area over here that I'd like to do business. What's the average sale? Now, remember I said that and lean in on that moment. You must look at the average sale when you're putting together a planned process. Why? Why would I ever give you advice not to hit the middle of the bell curve, where there's most action? The middle and the average and the median number, that can be a little bit different as well. Make sure in your marketplace, if you have a lot of luxury, you look at the median and the mean, the average and the middle number, so that now you know what that average sale could be. You can make a guesstimate on how many apples you're going to make, pay out the brokerage, or if you own your own, pay out your expenses, and you have an idea for this financial relationship to the market. Is it a viable market within which to do this real estate agency thing? Very simple. And then you start to say, well, what type of people live in that type of neighborhood? Who are they? Right? And this is going to become important. Who are they? Where are they? Where's that average sale happening where there's plenty of activity? Now you've really given some serious thought to this. And then, of course, the last step is go in and look at the last quarter, the last year. How many sales actually took place? And if you got X of those, where does it leave you? And this is all about strategic marketing. Remember, I get it. If you bump into somebody and they want to do business outside that, that's fine. But you're going to have to spend some money, time, and effort in this marketplace. So cheat to the place that's economically viable, and you want to be. That has a lot to do with this. If you're doing business in a place, oh, someday I'll get to the glory land. No, you won't. You won't. It's an intentional managed decision immediately. Do it today. The next part of that is message. A lot of people talk about this unique selling proposition and they get all caught up in it, and it starts to become this kind of weird statement that begins to depart from who you are as a human being. So I've seen people morph these bizarre, unique selling propositions that make it so weird and nichey, it almost applies to nobody and everything needs to be explained away. Why? Why not start with understanding that if a plan is important to you, you're heroes of the story. Again, I say this all the time. You're my hero here as my audience. So I'm trying to give you a plan and be a good guide. Go do that for the buyers and sellers. Understand that they are the heroes of this business that you're trying to run, not you. And once you can flip that perspective, suddenly you see these simple plans for them. Look, in my business and in my mastermind, we've chunked it up to 7 points that are universal, immutable steps that happen when you're listing and selling a house. 6 steps that are universal and immutable, meaning you can't get away from them. They're unbreakable. They just are what they are. It's the way the business works. 6 steps. Can you believe 13 simple steps, 2 infographics, and you would be blown away how often the hero, the consumer, looks at us and said, I never heard this from anybody else. What does that mean when they say that? You just became wildly unique by being so planned out and so simple. Nothing complicated. These infographics are something that a 5th grader could read and understand. And that's the way we built them, because everything starts with simple, universal, immutable. We'll go read every self-help business book you can read, and you'll see those words coming up. Listen to them. Don't blow through them. There's a reason that wisdom exists. It's universal and simple. Stop being hoodwinked and convinced by something that's so complicated that if you don't follow this guru over here with this complicated system, you'll never survive. Not true. Okay? Not true. It's simple first. You can make further detail adjustments along the way as your expertise goes up, but anybody can follow a simple plan and be successful. All right? Now, the last piece of that messaging, which to the hero would be, I have a plan for you, and I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to guide you through it. That's your messaging, or at least that's the heart of it. Now, I know there's a lot more messaging out there. I get it. Most of the consumer sellers want to know what their home is worth or what the homes down the street sold for. Most buyers want this insider access to properties and more insight. You're definitely going to have to mix that messaging in here. But ultimately, I'm talking today about the foundational message that empowers you, that makes you confident that those technical things you can do in your sleep, but to believe in yourself that you are a great guide with simple plans. And that's why they should do business with you first. That other stuff is just included in it. And then the last thing, which everybody typically starts with when they're not planned out, when they're not managing it correctly, right? Gerber, going back to his layers, you got this entrepreneur, you have this technical agent. I'm staying in this middle lane like a sandwich. You must talk about managing the media. Now that I know where they are, who they are, I know what the essence of the message is with some of the technical aspects that I might need to include. How do I deliver to them? And by the way, buyers and sellers are different. And the answer is not a knee-jerk, like, a bobblehead. Boing, you hit your head and internet, digital, right? Don't do that. There's nothing more powerful in some cases than direct mail. Nothing. It's amazing what direct mail does. It gets through all of the spam filters, right? It doesn't just get lost in this long list of unread. It gets to the house. Now, maybe they, look at it over the circular file and toss it, but at least there was an imprint there. So a combination, thinking through, if the seller is sitting in this geography and you know where they are, why wouldn't you include some direct mail? Why wouldn't you drop off a flyer? For those of you that don't mind door knocking and delivering this free plan to them with free, insightful information, all of that becomes a viable medium upon which you deliver your message, and they all should be considered. I'm not going to deep dive into it. It's too much to talk about, but that's this entire body of work I do with these people trying to manage their business. Just do those simple things. Think. Now that leads to this other part of this 1-2 punch, which is conversion. Hey, guess what's going to happen when you do all that stuff in a planned way, in an intentional way? You're going to get people who are listening, who will accept your offer for the next level of service, which is what? Hey, you know what? It seems like you're not going to buy for the next 6-9 months or so. But what I'd like to do, in addition to using all those online apps, I'd like to put you in the back end of the multiple listing service and send direct to your email box something that gives a little bit more criteria. But more importantly, I can see it and I can give you insight. So that as a buyer, you begin to see what the money's buying. I can also help you get pre-qualified so you can match what you're really comfortable spending with what's there, and we can refine it. See, people that have been magnetically attracted to your marketing and are interested in the message are willing to be converted if you do it correctly. So there needs to be an offer at that point in time that upgrades the level of service so that as they move into conversion of what? Relationship. The disposition is beginning to change from this lead status where they don't really know you, you don't really know them, and you're trying to find out, is there a viable opportunity to make an offer? In other words, is there motivation inside of 12 months, and are they interested in you helping them? Period. Pretty simple. And that changes the disposition to prospect. Now there's this prospect that needs to truly be fulfilled on that service promise. And ultimately, if that is done correctly, there is no competition. And I mean that. If somebody was willing to go through all that with you, and now you're providing all this insightful information, you're building relationship. And you all know out there, if you've ever been up against somebody competing and there was a relationship, doesn't matter if they've never sold a house before and you've sold 100 last month, you're going to lose. So the whole idea of conversion is this planned out way to build relationship that boxes out competition and gives you steady, predictable business, right? Now, the next point I want to make here is you must execute every day and learn from the consumer. So as you're doing this marketing, is anybody responding? Are they going into the next stage that you've set up? And if they are they asking for more information? You have to test this marketing to see if it's viable, because if it's not, something's wrong. And I'm not saying it's that thing. I've heard people say, oh, I did expireds and they didn't work for me. No, you did expireds incorrectly and it didn't work for you, because every day people expire and somebody lists them. Okay? That's an example of us throwing the baby out with the bathwater in these immutable things that exist in real estate: for sale by owners, probates, expireds, right? I could go on and on and on. I won't. But those are all dispositions. You're just trying to get somebody to listen to you, accept help, and convert that relationship, right? And while you're executing that, you're learning from whom? From that very consumer. If they're liking it and they're leaning in, pay attention to that. Pay attention. What's working? Oh my gosh, I can't believe a 7-step plan like that made them react like that. I'm going to lean in further. I'm going to learn more about what I could do with this. Maybe I need to get this, delivery of this message on another medium in addition to this one that's working. You're learning from them about your plan, which allows you to make all these little distinctions and adjustments and make them permanent. See, the minute you get a good plan and it starts to work, a lot of people snap back. Maxwell Maltz, go read his book, The New Psycho-Cybernetics, co-authored by Dan Kennedy, who was so moved by it, bought it. Unbelievably powerful book that talks about all this, these adjustments, but then we snap back. And that's the last point here. Will you stick to the yellow brick road, please? Right? You know what happened to Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz? She ended up in the poppy fields asleep and everything went haywire. When you have a plan like the yellow brick road that leads you to where you want to go, stick to it. Don't stray way off into the woods. By the way, an even better movie, if you want to be scared back on the road, Werewolf in London, right? I'll never forget it. Guy goes off the path, everybody's screaming. Well, you know what happens next. There's plenty of werewolves and poppy fields out there. Don't snap back to doing this on muscle. Oh yeah, that kind of work. Baloney. That's just not right. Plans are the thing that work. They work in every business and they work in life. You want to climb Mount Everest without a plan? Be my guest. There's a lot of people that tried that and it didn't work out so well. All right. So let me chunk these bullet points back up for you. You must manage and execute simple plans. So number one, get a plan. I give it to you. Freeagentgift.com. Will you go over there and start stimulating your thought process? Next, the 1-2 punch revolves around planning and managing marketing, which has 3 beats to it. Okay. Market, message, media. And then conversion has 3 beats to it. Lead, prospect, client. Remember those 6 and you're off to the races to a certain extent. Execute every day these plans. Even if it feels like you're talking to yourself, do something so that you can get this stuff to the consumer and see their reaction or not. If you can hear tumbleweeds, you might question the plan. And lastly, beware the snapback effect. We always snap back to a lesser image of ourselves by default. This is a yellow brick road when it's a plan. Stick to it and make the refinements. Doesn't mean you don't trip on the yellow brick road, but you don't have to go off into the woods and just abandon it because it's ugly out there. All right. So to summarize the key point here, the number one reason that agents fail at building a real estate agent business is that they don't start with a plan, stick to it, and refine it. All right. Now, remember, I'm going to say it again. Remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with our free video course that starts you on this planned thinking over at freeagentgift.com. It's stupid simple. Don't dismiss it. Listen to what I'm saying there. Right? I'm successful with these plans, or at least they protect me. And all these folks that I coach, same thing. It protects us. That's the idea. We also broadcast our live sales training calls on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 1 o'clock ET. So remember to turn on your page and channel notifications so you won't miss the reminders. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Please get in here with me so that you don't miss out on each insight, because every time I upload an episode, it's coming from this body of work I'm doing with these people that are working real really hard. We're giving it to you. We'd also appreciate it if you would share our content with other entrepreneurial real estate agents just like you, so that everybody gets some good help here that can protect us. Let's band the rafts together. Hey, thanks for listening. And remember, I said it before, I'll say it again. Nobody's coming for you. So go get to work on your business, all you managers. See you in the next episode.